Hello everyone, today I want to talk about the Watchmen series. I want to start by saying that this is going to be a very hot take. I haven't rewatched the show, I haven't analyzed it in depth or anything, so yeah, don't expect anything professional from me is what I'm saying. Second, I want to make it clear that I haven't read the comics, I haven't seen the movie, so this is going to concern the show only. Also, yeah, I'm mainly going to be discussing the final episode, so spoiler alert, obviously. Last disclaimer, I'm not going to be looking at all the different angles from which the series can be interpreted or analyzed, mainly because I'm just not familiar with all of them or any of them, so instead I'm going to focus on one particular angle. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the character of Lady Trieu in opposition to the character of Angela, and on how the representation of both these women is depicted in a way that reflects patriarchal values. So, if the very premise of that just pisses you off, fair enough, you don't have to watch this, just go watch something else, it's fine, none taken. Yeah, I just want to, yeah, I very much, like, I enjoyed the show, I loved the show, I thought it was very entertaining, I thought it was brilliantly done. I'm not trying to piss off anyone or ruin it for anybody, like, this is really not my intention. I just want to, like, you know, share my interpretation of it, and that's it, so here it goes. So yeah, let's discuss the character of Lady Trieu. I have a master's degree in English literature, which means that I am literally trained to overanalyze shit and pull things out of my ass. But even for me, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Lady Trieu may be associated with the sin of hubris. Now, the Oxford Dictionary, sorry, I'm getting the name wrong already. The Oxford Dictionary defines hubris as the fact of being too proud. A character with this quality ignores warnings and laws, and this usually results in their downfall and death. Cool, so in Greek mythology, this is perhaps best exemplified by the character of Icarus, who literally flies too close to the sun, ignores his father's warning, and which causes the wax of his artificial man-made wings to melt, which results in his fall and his death. So, what does this have to do with Lady Trieu? Well, her character embodies the desire to become God, or in this case, the superhero's equal. She claims she would do a better job at saving humanity, at cleaning the air, etc. And because these super abilities are embodied by a male godlike figure, Dr. Manhattan, this claim may be interpreted as a defiance on her part of both male and divine authority. So, it is strongly implied that the reason she is so gifted and intelligent to begin with is because she has inherited Adrian Veidt, her father's intelligence or gifts or whatever. So already it's implied that whatever makes her special and unique isn't something of her own, but rather, you know, due to her paternal legacy. And this legacy is quite literally stolen, as Trieu's mother steals his seed and impregnates herself against his will, or at least without him being, well, without him consenting or even being aware of it. So yeah, against his will. So Lady Trieu's intelligence has no merit of its own, for it's quite literally stolen from a man, her father. It was not naturally passed on, or even passed on in a way that Ozymandias, I'm not sure I'm getting this right, but even in a way that Ozymandias approved or even consented to. Furthermore, as it is said that he is in fact a virgin, Lady Trieu comes to symbolize, in a way, the theft of a man's virtue, of a man's virginity. Hence, although the show does not fall into the trope of sexualizing women, like many superhero shows do, Lady Trieu nevertheless reminds us of the femme fatale who uses man's seed to quench her thirst and lust for power and money. And sure, Lady Trieu does rescue her father at some point, and thus demonstrates her superiority, reversing the classic damsel in distress trope, but she doesn't rescue him because she wants to help him, or even because she wants to kill him or bring him to justice herself. No, she does it because she needs his validation. So this woman who's achieved the impossible and who's worth billions of dollars still needs to, like, she still needs her father to bear witness to her victory. She still needs to prove herself to him. She still needs male validation. In fact, so one might even argue that it is precisely this desire for validation that has led her to accomplish so much in the first place. That it is precisely this desire for validation that will also cause her to fail in the end. Because indeed, later in the finale, not thanks to Angela or Agent Blake, by the way, who doesn't do much in this episode, to be honest, but thanks to the blue naked man in a cage, True's father is sent away to save the day, killing a bunch of people in the process, so it's an ambiguous rescue. But yeah, he's sent to save the day and bring down the bad guy, Lady Trieu. So justice falls down from above, the very symbol of what she's accomplished and of her desire for power, this huge clock tower, comes crashing down on her. There's a statue of Christ in the background, and the message could not be clearer. Lady Trieu has sinned, and she's punished for her hubris. To me, this is a clear reference to Icarus, whose accomplishment was building the wings that, in fact, led him to his death. But it is interesting to note that there is a difference when the character plagued with hubris is male and when it is female. When the character is male, his pride is to want to become God's equal. His sin is to want to surpass his mortal limitations, as I've already mentioned. But when the character is female, the sin is double, because in her desire to become God's equal, not only does she transgress her human and mortal abilities, she also transgresses her female abilities, because God is in fact a man. This is when the character of Angela comes in. I mean, after all, she gets to walk on water, right? She inherits divine powers, and this turn of events should therefore negate the idea that the power dynamics in the show actually reflect patriarchal values. The future does seem to be female in the end. But I remain unconvinced. I would argue that Angela, as her name indicates, is, stands for the angelic woman. And this is very subtly done, because she's not depicted as your typical passive angelic woman. But I believe, I believe it is in fact what she represents, especially in contrast to her opposite and double, Lady Trieu. Sure, she'll kick your ass any day of the week, but in the end, she is far from a disruptive character. She doesn't threaten patriarchal values or patriarchal order the way Lady Trieu did. If you want an indication of that, just her entire character arc and character development is directly linked to the men in her life. First by her grandfather, then by Dr. her husband, after he's revealed to be Dr. Manhattan. Again, I'm absolutely not saying that she's depicted as a character who lacks strength or agency. I'm just saying that if you look at her actual actions in the show, I mean, if you removed the male characters, from her interactions with, more powerful male characters, she wouldn't have much to do, to be honest. So yeah, even the fact that she's a police officer, a profession that's traditionally associated with men, is not really proof of her empowering herself or breaking from tradition, because it simply shows that she's directly following in her grandfather's footsteps. So she symbolizes his legacy rather than something radically new or different. So when it comes to the character of Angela in opposition to Lady Trieu, we can sort of find that traditional angel/monster dichotomy, albeit very subtle. And the angelic aspect of Angela's character is conveyed by her name, but also by the fact that she's a mother. Although, at some point in the show, she expresses the fact that she doesn't want kids, she doesn't want a family, but then, of course, secretly she did. And she ends up becoming a very good mother, so she doesn't break from that tradition. She's not disruptive, she follows in her grandfather's footsteps, and hence she symbolizes his legacy, and she, most of all, symbolizes continuity, rather than a rupture from a past which is dominated by men. In direct contrast, you have Lady Trieu, and I mean, even when you just look at her name, you realize that, it sounds like the noun true, but it isn't spelled the same. So this already suggests a form of deception, you know. It already implies that she's going to appear at first glance to be truthful and to be honest, but that she's going to be the opposite of that. So yeah, she presents herself as someone who wants to achieve good things, you know. She says she wants to save humanity, which doesn't sound too bad. But in order to achieve these things, she needs to steal and take from men, and also distance herself from their ways. She's represented as this sort of snake of a woman, this deceptive, transgressive woman. And since she also happens, as I've already mentioned, to represent the theft and the loss of a man's virtue, she's also associated with the trope of the sexual woman, although she's not sexualized. She's still associated with the trope of the sexual woman who gains her power from stealing men's seed, a trope that is traditionally opposed to that of the angelic woman, which we can find in the character of Angela. By the way, this trope of a woman, you know, stealing man's virtue and is already present in episode 5 during the flashback scene before the giant squid falls from the sky. You see this girl who's dressed in black and she's wearing makeup, and for some reason I thought it was interesting to mention that. And you see this girl, and you know, she's presented as a threat to young looking Glass's virtue and virginity. She even comes, like, she nearly assaults him, but in the end she just decides that it's way more fun to just steal his clothes and humiliate him, which I guess is better. Anyway, but we definitely have this trope of the sexual woman who poses who poses a threat to men's virtue and men's integrity, established early on in the show. Now, okay, moving back to Angela. So she does achieve power in the end. She does gain access to this male divinity, but I think it's only because she didn't want to. You know, she had no ambition to be powerful. Like, unlike Lady Trieu, she doesn't have ambition. She doesn't have pride or hubris. She doesn't want to take anything from men, you know. It's Dr. Manhattan who, out of his own volition, decides to grant, you know, Angela, he decides to turn her into some sort of divine being. So this is why, in my opinion, this fails to be empowering, because she doesn't take anything from men. She's not trying to become the next Dr. Manhattan. You know, she's on the receiving end of male actions and desires. In other words, Angela just comes from, like, she goes from symbolizing her grandfather's legacy to symbolizing her husband's legacy. And she's not a disruptive female character. She just stands for a continuity that is, in my opinion, inscribed in patriarchy and reflects patriarchal values. Therefore, to me, when it comes to gender representation and power dynamics between men and women, the fact that Angela becomes the next Dr. Manhattan wasn't groundbreaking. And it wasn't groundbreaking because, to me, what the show was saying is that women are allowed to be powerful, but only if and when we, you know, gods, men, superheroes, all of the above, allow it. So yeah, that's about everything that crossed my mind when I watched the show. There are so many different things that I could have discussed when it comes to gender representation. I didn't even talk about Agent Blake. I mean, I will briefly say this about Agent Blake. Like, although I love the fact that we have an older woman who is badass and who kills it in every scene she's in, it really, it sort of disturbed me that in the episodes in which she's introduced, first of all, she's just obsessed by Dr. Manhattan, like from beginning to end, literally. And what disturbed me most in the episode was this scene where she's just staring at this giant blue Dr. Manhattan inspired dildo. I mean, it's not the dildo that bothered me. Like, I'm very sex positive. I mean, but you don't even see her masturbate or anything. Like, she just goes on to fuck her assistant. So she's like to me, it was conveying the idea, like, when you see her looking at that giant dildo, it just conveyed the idea that this is what she was lacking at that moment. And, well, to be honest, this gave me penis envy vibes. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was, because why did we need to see that? You know, it wasn't to sexualize her because she ends up not even masturbating and having sex with her assistant. It wasn't to convey the idea that she misses Dr. Manhattan, because this is made very clear throughout the episode. So, I mean, maybe I'm reading way too, maybe this is just merch, in which case, great, where can I buy this, you know? Oh, like, whatever. Yeah, so anyway, I love this show. I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't help feeling that if you removed the female character's connection to more powerful men in the show, like Hooded Justice, Adrian Veidt, and Dr. Manhattan, of course, well, they would be very one-dimensional. They wouldn't have much to do, and in the end, they wouldn't really have a place in this show. So this was my take on it. If anyone sees this, please let me know what you think. I know that it may be weird to, like, the idea to make a gender video on Watchmen, but I couldn't find anything that addressed it, so I just thought I would add my very humble contribution. Also, as you may have noticed, this is my first video. I'm just out of uni, I'm bored out of my mind, I miss writing essays so fucking much, and I thought that this video may do the trick when it comes to filling the void inside of me, as I do not yet have a giant blue dildo. Yeah, anyway. I'm sorry about the poor quality of the video. Also, I'm sorry about anything that's inevitably going to go wrong technology-wise, because this is not my area of expertise. And also, I'm very aware of that it can be very cringy to look at someone who's not used to staring into a camera, so sorry about that. If you've made it this far, thank you for humoring me, thank you for watching, and take care of yourself.